Hello everyone, and welcome to sort of a random, impromptu, off the top, uncut, raw, unedited, actually there might be a little bit of editing, video. I normally don't do this kind of stuff on my channel, but so forgive me if this goes just terribly wrong. But this came to mind while I was in the middle of my Daredevil Season 3 13-hour binge. I took a little break here to play Mark of the Ninja, which I just recently bought on the Nintendo Switch. And while I was playing, I kind of realized, like, this is kind of like the closest thing we have to a good Daredevil game. There is a Daredevil game out there on the Game Boy Advance, the one and only Daredevil game, which you can watch a review of on my channel. But it's kind of a simple 2D beat 'em up that, you know, Daredevil deserves more than just a simple beat 'em up on the Game Boy Advance. While I was playing this game, I couldn't help but notice a lot of elements that could work really well in a Daredevil game. So to show you what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and jump in to Mark of the Ninja Remastered, which, by the way, if you're a fan of stealth games like Metal Gear Solid, Splinter Cell, Tenchu, you gotta give this game a shot. This is one of the best. It's up there with the best stealth games that are out there, you know. And it's a 2D indie game. You know, who would have thought that a 2D stealth game could work so well? So off the bat, let's pick a level that resembles New York City. Somewhat resembles New York City. Some of these later levels, some of these environments aren't exactly something you would find in a Daredevil. Actually, you know what? Maybe you could. You know, there's a lot of Japanese martial arts, stuff like that, elements in Daredevil with the hand and Elektra and stuff like that. But for the most part, Daredevil is in New York City, more specifically Hell's Kitchen. So let's pick something that resembles that. Right here we can have different outfits, which this man, just look at this. That's as close as we can get to Daredevil. You know, we got pretty much a red demon like outfit, but the problem is that this outfit, if you read the description here, Path of Might says reinforced armor provides additional protection and knocks down opponents faster, while stealth kills now restore health. So this outfit kind of, I guess it goes more into the offense kind of side of things, killing, giving you some health. But this outfit right here, the Path of Silence, which might be a little more closer to Daredevil, even though it's not red like this one. You do have those two horns at the top, you know, kind of maybe a mixture of the black, what's it called, what do you call that outfit? Is that the Man Without Fear outfit from the Frank Miller run, the black pajamas with the black over his face? So it's kind of a mix, you know. You've got the horns and you got the black, and more importantly, this is a purely stealth-based outfit with completely taking out the ability to kill people, and you make no noise when you run, and you can get more distraction items, which I guess it's as close as we're gonna get to a Daredevil-like setup.
Right? That may have been hundreds of years ago.
So yeah,
this really isn't that
right off the bat, we're perched up on this tree here, and that blue circle you can see there is to use your grappling hook thing, like so. And already, in my opinion, that's very fitting for Daredevil. You know, he uses his billy club that has a wire, a pretty strong retractable wire that he uses to swing around and traverse the city. And I think it'd be very fitting to to be used in this way for a Daredevil game, because, you know, like, even though Daredevil traverses the city by swinging around with his billy club and a mixture of parkour, he's not Spider-Man, you know, so you can't really have a swinging system where you could just swing non-stop off lampposts or light posts or building edges. I think having limited use of the billy club, you know, makes sense, because Daredevil is still pretty much human. You know, like, he is human. Like, he has he's really good at martial arts and all that stuff, and his heightened senses. But in terms of jumping around and things like that, he's still at a human level. I remember the 2003 Ben Affleck Daredevil movie did some really crazy stuff with the way he would traverse the city that was really unrealistic. If you, I think it was season 2 of Daredevil, where he gets the billy club with the wire. You see him swing around. I think it was the scene in the hospital where you get the hand ninjas killing a whole bunch of people in the hospital. You see him use his wire in that scene, and it was really, like, it was grounded in a way where it wasn't over the top like something Spider-Man would do. So already this gameplay mechanic fits for a Daredevil game. Now, more importantly, I want to point out the light system in this game. So here we have a light that goes back and forth, and you see that when I get under it, my character illuminates, letting me know that I'm visible to the enemy. And when we go out of the light, we see that our character becomes just completely black, letting us know that we are in the shadows and the enemy won't be able to see us. And that's a very sleek and sexy way to let you know that you're either in the light or out of the light without intruding any other elements in the screen. You know, there's no meter letting you know how exposed you are, or the whole, I know some other games let you know that you're in the darkness by going black and white or something like that, but in here it's just the character, you know, and the screen kind of lightens up a bit too, if you notice there, which it's a really effective way of letting you know when you're visible and when you're not. So let me show you the next mechanic that I think could easily be translated to a Daredevil game, which is taking out the light source with these darts, which in a Daredevil game could just easily be replaced with the billy club. Again, you know, most of the items that you will be using in the Daredevil game would just be your billy club, with all the different ways you can use it. With the first one, which is Traversal, you know, with the wire extending out and swinging or zipping across different perch points, and then you'll be able to toss your billy club to take out lights and stuff like that. We can't take out that one because it's reinforced with some great there. So yeah, so as you know, Daredevil doesn't need sight. So we could be in a room where all the light sources are completely taken out, and we have the advantage because, you know, we have our heightened sense of hearing, and that's the way Daredevil sees. He doesn't need to, well, he doesn't see. He uses his other senses to figure out what's around him, and yeah, this game perfectly represents that. You know, if I was able to take out that light, I would still be able to see everything that's around me, which, again, it's a good way of letting you know the enemy can't see you. You know, they rely on their sense of sight. Meanwhile, you don't, so you're able to see everything that's around you. Now, let me show you the next element that I think is very fitting for Daredevil. So we have an enemy right here. Let me not get spotted. So this is where things get a little tricky. As you see, as I mentioned before, Daredevil doesn't see. I'm sure all of you know that. But we can't see the enemy, you know. If you see here on the right side of the screen, we see everything is colored, and you know, we can see everything that's on this side of the screen because our character is on that side of the screen. But we have this little ledge that I'm hanging off of blocks everything that's on the left side of the screen, and you can see this represented with this diagonal cut that's representing everything that's out of my line of sight. Now, this is a little weird because while technically Daredevil doesn't need to see things to be able to know where they are, he can still see, and in quotes, see enemies where they are due to their whatever sound they're giving off. And we can see where every time this guy here takes a step, he leaves those little sound waves showing us exactly where he is, which is perfect for a Daredevil game. You know, even though we technically don't see him as the player, we know where he is because of his footsteps, and that to me is perfect for a Daredevil game. So, but now here's the place where the disconnect between us as the player and Daredevil kind of go into play. We're not Daredevil. We are controlling Daredevil in this video game. So since the enemy is technically out of our line of sight, we can't see him. Which, this being a Daredevil game, we should be able to see him even though he's out of our line of sight because we are Daredevil. But I think kind of just having the sound waves to represent where the enemy is staying true to the character of Daredevil, because technically Daredevil doesn't see anything around him. He just feels where everything is around him. So even though there is a line of sight in this game where when we get to that line of sight we can see the enemy as a player clearly, but I mean, because let's just say if we couldn't see any enemies around here, maybe enemies were represented by that little red mist that they leave behind, would probably be a more accurate way of representing how Daredevil sees things, but that might not be so visually appealing for a video game. So I think just having the characters straight up be there when they're in our line of sight makes sense. Meanwhile, when they're not, we're relying on the sense of hearing to pinpoint where the character is. And yeah, like I said before, that is just perfect to me for a Daredevil game. So right here we have another gameplay mechanic that would fit a Daredevil game perfectly as well. There's this ability called Farsight, which I guess I would rename Far Hearing. Let me show you what I mean here. So when we activate Farsight, how do I do that again? Right, here we go. So it seems like he's focusing, you know, and we can see exactly where everybody is, and you know, they're perfectly highlighted. You can't miss them, which kind of reminds me of those moments where Daredevil would perch up at the edge of a rooftop, and he would just really focus in his sense of hearing to find a specific person or listen out for a car, or you know, something like that. You've seen it in the Netflix show and things like that. And yeah, so this is definitely in line with something you could find in a Daredevil game. And not only that, but if you look at the we have that electricity panel there at the bottom. When we activate the Farsight ability, we can see the electric current that connects to the different light bulbs and elevators, switches, all that kind of stuff, which again is something that Daredevil would be able to do. Daredevil, by touching the wall or something like that, he's able to feel the electric current that would run along the wall, connecting to either like a hidden door or something like that, like a motion sensing door, a secret trap door. So yeah, this is something that would make sense to also have in a Daredevil game. So another element I briefly mentioned before was traversal that would be important in a Daredevil game. You know, using his billy club to swing around buildings and stuff like that. And there are moments in this game that kind of are more focused on traversal. Not much, but this level was the one that came to mind. You know, there's a lot of jumping around rooftops and stuff like that, and you know, you can run around, jump up, climb up the side of buildings, run across rooftops, and use your grappling hook here to get around. And I actually thought of a different game that I played a while back. It's actually a mobile game, believe it or not, and it's called Vector. I don't know if you guys have ever played that game, but it's kind of one of those runner style excuse me, those runner style games where the guy just automatically runs to the side, and then you gotta watch out for obstacles like desks, chairs, air conditioning units. You gotta time your swipe when you swipe up to kind of keep your flow going. And I think that being applied to a Daredevil game would work pretty well too. I mean, I don't think it should be an endless or automatic runner, whatever that genre is called. You should definitely be in control of when you run at all times. But I think having that sort of rhythmic flow that you got to keep up a momentum going would be a good way to show, you know, to kind of make you feel like you're in control of the parkour system, rather than like hitting a button and you automatically flip over any obstacles that might come your way, similar to the Spider-Man PS4 game. Not to knock that game down, I mean, like, when you're playing as Spider-Man, you would imagine that a character like that would be able to perfectly traverse different areas without much effort. But somebody like Daredevil, who's more human, you know, you would want to have that feeling of like, okay, I actually got to focus here and make sure I don't screw up. So let me pay attention to my environment and then time my vaults, my jump, my rolls, and you know, and stuff like that. So if you never played Vector, it might be a little tough to picture what I'm talking about. But it's definitely a fun mobile game if you never tried it out, and I recommend it. So that was kind of my rant or discussion or just brainstorming of how I think that Mark of the Ninja is actually a good template for what a Daredevil game could be. At least a indie style Daredevil game, translating some of this stuff to a AAA 3D game could also work, definitely. Which reminds me, by the way, I actually have a podcast planned with a couple of friends. We haven't nailed down a date yet, so I'm not gonna make like an official announcement or anything, but it's in the works, and so you can look forward to that. But for now, just let me know what you thought. I mean, am I crazy for thinking that this game? Am I stupid for thinking that this game could somehow, you know, be a template for what a good Daredevil game could be? Are there any other games out there? You know, like it's hard coming up with a completely original game to pitch for a superhero, which is why I understand a lot of people say, oh, Arkham, you know, grab Arkham, put a Daredevil skin over it, there's your Daredevil game. You know, it's definitely easier to grab an already existing game and apply it to a character that it would fit. So besides Arkham, are there any other games out there you think that their style would fit for Daredevil? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.